Welcome back everybody, it's Michael from Nobo. Today I'm giving you the top 5 mistakes that every fly fisher makes. The first mistake that I have is doing too much false casting. You only need to do it, 2 or 3 times, especially if you're fishing like an indicator or a double nymph rig. You're just going to get tangled. If you're dry fly fishing and maybe you're false casting to dry your fly off, then that makes sense, but other than that, you really don't want to be false casting that much just because it looks cool. And just do it a couple times. There was a bug on my desk. Just do it to where you feel like you can get as far as you need to reach in the stream or the lake. But if you don't need to do it, then don't, because it's just going to result in more problems, and that's something you don't want. The second mistake that I see a lot of fly fishermen make, especially myself, I'm probably the most guilty person of doing this because I get so excited, even if I'm catching like a 4-inch fish. I feel that I see the indicator go down or I see a fish take it and I just go like that, and that's setting the hook. People get way too aggressive when they're setting the hook, and I get it. You get excited, you got a fish on there. But especially with dry flies, you got to remember to just take a second after you see that fish take it, and just give them a second, and then you want to set the hook. You want to make sure that they actually got, that fly in their mouth before you do it. And you just don't want to completely rip the fly out of their mouth, because you could have had like a 30-inch bull trout on there, and you just rip that fucking fly out of its mouth. So don't do that. The third tip that I have, and the third mistake that I see a lot of people make, is not using the right type of flies. You might hear on a report that this is what's been working, but when you get out to the stream, it's so easy to figure out what's hatching, especially when it's in the warmer weather. I'm definitely a victim of this. I'll read a report and I'm like, oh, I gotta fish these 5 flies that they wrote down. Look at the stream, go downstream in the tailwater and see what's floating, pick them up, see what size they are, see, they're just flies,
You can kill them.
And you can match them, pull your box out, check them out. And even on big hatches like salmon flies, grasshoppers, pick them up and try to match them the best that you can, because I guarantee that you'll be way more successful doing that than just picking something out that looks juicy from your box and trying to fish that. The fourth mistake that I have is having too much drag and not having a really good presentation. If you're nymphing, it's really important, especially if you're nymphing in the winter months. The fish, are not going to be really going out of their way, since they're trying to conserve so much energy and they're really lethargic. Really making sure you have no drag, you have a really good float, and this applies to anything. In certain streams on certain days, you can give your dry fly a little twitch, and sometimes I've had a lot of fish like that movement and come up. You don't want your line pulling and giving a seam. You can look at your fly and you can see it creating a seam when your fly is actually moving, and that's something that you definitely don't want to do. It doesn't look natural. The fish aren't going to take your fly if it's like that. Alright, fifth thing is, don't worry too much about your gear. Don't worry as much about the rod and the reel that they're using, but worry more about the things that are actually in the water. So like your line, your tippet, and your flies. Those 3 things are going to be much more important than the rod that you're using. If you can get that fly out, as long as you're not using like a Door Explorer fly rod, the fish probably isn't going to break off.
Northern bound. Yeah, look at what you found. Northern bound. Look at what you found. You better hit subscribe, or I'll punch you in the eye. Better hit the like, or I'll put you in a fire with a lion, and he'll fuck you up.